Everything electric at the Excel in London. And we're bringing you 30 minutes of what's happening right now in zero emission transport with expert analysis from the EV Café crew. Brought to you this week in partnership with our next venture, the Commercial Vehicle Show, where the fans of vans, trucks and all things commercial hang out. So see us at the Birmingham NEC on the 23rd to 25th of April with the EV Café Village. If you want to exhibit with us, contact Richie Martin at richie.martin@evcafe.org. Now then, we've got opinions on a stick and possibly a selfie stick with Paul, and they are Sam. Hello, mate.
All right, mate.
Nothing to say. Sarah, are you well?
I am, but just everyone knows we can't do the chat box because we're all dialing in off our phones because we're at the show. So if anybody's talking, talk to each other, talk to yourselves.
And the wonderful Paul, who's going wander about.
I am going wander about all over the place, and hopefully we'll keep a signal.
Let's hope so. So grab a cuppa and plug in to what's happening in zero emission transport this week. And we'll talk about everything electric, of course, because they're bringing green energy to London. The EV scare stories, excuse me, that need to be pushed back against by key fleet managers. It's their task also to join the happy band of EV converts. Plans are afoot to drive adoption of hydrogen farming and construction vehicles. We go to Sam for live reaction to that story. Calls for mandating accessible EV charging infrastructure continue to grow, with the government urged to act. And through pavement, home EV charging has been trialled in Scotland with Turbocharge. We'll bring you the latest from, I believe, Dundee. But first, a big shout out to the small band of loyal followers we have on YouTube, and we met some yesterday, especially Barbara, Simon and their son Joe. And we have an image of Barbara and Joe. There we go. At Everything Electric yesterday, Sarah and I met them.
Lovely.
And they remonstrated a touch and said, you know what, you never mention the people on YouTube. And my humble apologies. We don't get necessarily the feed that comes through in our chat box and don't see necessarily the names. But now I know, Barbara, Simon and Joe, thank you for being our YouTube fans and being there every week. Bless you. So, shall we crack on? As research finds that 51% of consumers are looking to invest in green home energy solutions. Everything Electric's in London, the electric mobility and home technology. To the Excel London from today and again tomorrow, following a highly successful launch on Thursday. The show's offering 10,000 test drives during the 3-day show at the Excel. It features a huge array of home technology as well as dozens of live panel sessions and 2 of the EV Cafe. Yesterday, we're on the Giga Theatre stage chatting to avid fans and followers. Sam, what were you chatting about?
Firstly, can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay, good. Just checking. What we were chatting about? Well, we were chatting about last mile and first mile. So all about how deliveries can be done more efficiently and more effectively. And of course, as green and as efficient and as EV related as possible. But it was good to tackle both ends of the spectrum, everything from the last mile stuff all the way through to the big trucks. So yeah, it was a good debate, and look, I was enjoying it. I even helped Paul as well with some of the facts. So it was good.
I was wondering when that was coming. Paul, how was it from your perspective?
No, he's exactly right, and he did help me with facts. I know facts at certain times, but my brain is getting old and a bit fuddled. So, I forget some of the things. So it's nice to have these young whippersnappers along that know stuff and like to show off, because we all know and love a show off. There we go.
And we've been here exhibiting with our event partners Iveco, Drax and Spiri, and yesterday morning it was mobbed. We couldn't move on our stand. We have the EV Cafe Village here, and it was just overrun with fabulous people. I'm hugged out on day one, so I had to have a good long sleep. I've got more hugs left today, so if you are coming to Everything Electric, please do come and find us. Sarah, what was your highlight of yesterday?
Well, I'm really enjoying Paul's walk around, actually, because I barely got to see, I would say, less than half of the show. Because as you say, there's so many great people to speak to. But I personally am so happy now that it's not just the infrastructure and the vehicles that people are talking about. There were lots of people exhibiting software, and we were there talking about payments. It's the whole ecosystem needs addressing. And today's everyone, it's just exciting. Today's the consumer day, right? So we're going to have lots of people thinking about their future and whether their future can be electric sooner than they thought. And also look out for the creepy Easter rabbit. There's an Easter bunny walking around giving hugs and mascot selfies. There's lots of mascots, lots of fun to be had. There's an inflatable course. Come on down.
It's really important that the people who come here get to hear the facts that Sam was talking about. And that leads us to our second story, where pushing back against scare stories about electric vehicles is becoming a key task for fleet managers, according to the Association of Professionals. Paul Hollick, chair of the industry body, said that there was a flood of misinformation appearing in both traditional and social media. And yesterday I was lucky enough to talk to Edmund King, president of the AAA, about exactly that facts need to come to the fore. And somebody said we need to just back away from getting into arguments with people. And I agree with that entirely. But what we do need to do is be vociferous in bringing facts to the table and helping people to understand how relatively easy EVs are. Somebody yesterday asked me, is it true that 90% of electric vehicles catch fire? And that was a genuine question. And I just thought, I'm sitting in a room filled with certainly 100 electric vehicles. Do you seriously think I would do that if there was a fire risk? Sam?
John, I was just going to point out the sentence you said there. So Paul Hollick, chair of the industry body, that there was a flood of misinformation appearing in both traditional and social media. I think he's right, and I welcome it. And I welcome it because what it means is there's more people showing an interest. And you're absolutely right that we need to make sure that we address that misinformation politely and calmly and don't get cross about it. But there are going to be swathes of people that don't understand. No one knows what you don't know, right? So it's not a problem. Yeah. It's just a piece of education that needs to happen. So frankly, maybe I'm taking a positive out of a negative here, but if there's loads and loads and loads of people that don't understand, then that means there's loads of people that need to be educated or steered in the right direction.
You're absolutely right. I mean, I've written a line here which says pushing back is one option. Pushing forward with facts would be my preference. Paul, you are somebody who spends your life talking about vans and facts, and sometimes you get them right.
Occasionally. Without Sam's help on the odd occasion. But the reality is that fleet managers do have a great responsibility in this whole process to ask questions and learn. But I think we as people that kind of maybe have embedded ourselves in this industry and tried to understand it well, it's really important to deal with it with empathy, because people are uncertain, they are fearful, they are doubtful. These aren't the people that are propagating said fear, uncertainty and doubt. They're the recipients of it and the feeling. And so we need to deal with it with empathy and help people make good decisions and make informed decisions.
You are absolutely right. Sarah, what's the oddest question that you've ever been asked about EVs? I mean, mine was yesterday, 90% catching fire.
Yeah, that's an absolute classic. But the real highlight from yesterday was a lady who was working for the British film industry, who have been pressured to transform their fleet as well. But of course, they have to be on site with generators. They have to tow. They have people who've got incredibly high budgets and can't take a risk at all. So she's part of this amazing group finding out facts. And yeah, she had some absolute classics for me yesterday. But she'll be following the EV Café because we present this neutral space where she can sort of say, well, look, it's not my opinion. Look at these people's opinions. And that really brought home to me how important it was that we were there yesterday. So good luck for the Consumer Day today. My view is if you've got that many people coming to the show today, that's a huge proportionate growth from previous years, which again shows lots of people are curious, EV curious. It's not about sort of being educated or hammered home. It's just answering simple questions, like Sam said, calmly and nicely, and pushing forward with facts. And that is what I'm completely committed to.
Absolutely. Let's say hello to a few people, shall we? Apart from Barbara, Joe and Simon. Let's say hello to the first one who smashed the doors in at 9:55, the Clean Tech fan from YouTube. Epic effort to be there 5 minutes early, even earlier than I was. Michael Barton from Bristol, an ever-present, bless you. Ash Bannister, it was great to see you yesterday. Thank you for coming on this morning, my friend. Tom Middleditch is here, actually in the room here. Matthew Ling from Suffolk yesterday was a ray of sunshine, genuinely was. We had a great chat about what he's doing in sunny Suffolk. Scott Bentley, Kirsty Wilson from Stuart Signs, and she was really, really enthusiastic about the EV Cafe Village and where we can take it. So future iterations of the village, what will it look like? It's going to look different. We'll bring you more on that as and when. It looks like the clean tech fan, maybe Barbara, Simon and Joe. Thanks, John, for the shout out for the YouTube crew. Brilliant to see everybody here. Thank you for joining us for the news this morning. Let's crack on. Paul's having another conversation with somebody else more important than us, but we shall carry on unabashed.
So now, Sarah, we're in a live show here.
Yeah, indeed we are. Sarah, you live in the countryside, don't you?
We do, yeah, my lover, yeah.
Righto, we got tractors, diggers, and forklifts coming up. Plans to encourage fleets to use tractors, diggers, and forklifts powered by hydrogen have been published by the government. I thought they'd had better things to do, but anyway, new regulations set out in a new Department of Transport consultation would allow hydrogen-powered tractors, diggers, and forklifts to be used on the roads in Great Britain. Technology and Decarbonisation Minister Anthony Brown says that allowing the hydrogen-powered vehicles to use the country roads is a common sense move to help reduce emissions. Let's go to our hydrogen correspondent, Sam Clark, for comment.
I don't know if I've got any words, to be honest. It's the first time I've seen this news article, John. So I'm just trying to process what they're actually trying to say here. But yeah, I mean,
we need hydrogen tractors.
Yeah, like John and Paul and I were talking about on stage yesterday. You know, there is perhaps a place for hydrogen, but it isn't on four wheels. And I would probably add that diggers, forklifts, and other things are probably in the same camp as trucks, as it's just not a viable option. But of course, the government still needs to push this rhetoric because they're being lobbied to by the oil companies who are pushing this sort of news story. So it's nothing new, is it?
Imogen on stage with us yesterday gave a great example of big mining trucks going electric. So we can see that actually the technology is perfectly capable in an electric form to deal with this kind of operation, and tractors are not doing great distances. They will be doing stuff with the energy that comes from what is today an engine, but tomorrow will be a battery. But that, as we know from the Iveco E Daily, you can take power off of one of those to power diggers, cherry pickers, all kinds of things. So you'll certainly be able to do it in a tractor as they do today in ICE vehicles.
Sarah, we ran a story probably 4 months ago which talked about JCB and Caterpillar doing work with massive 100-ton earth-moving pieces of kit in Australia, battery-powered. Is there anything that EV can't do?
I was thinking about this in terms of a use case, because a tractor will do hundreds of miles because it's out for 14 hours at a time, back and down and back up, and quick top up and off it goes again. So it works in a mining environment because you could potentially have a different vehicle to swap out to, but traditionally you don't have a second tractor to jump into on a farm. So I think they will be one of the last to transfer. I don't know whether they're thinking hydrogen can bring it forward earlier. The other thing that Imogen said on stage yesterday I thought was really good was just because it's a clean technology, hydrogen, it's still incredibly inefficient, and therefore it doesn't make it good. So just that it depends on your argument all the time. Is this about clean air? Then okay, it could work. Is it about energy efficiency? Then it won't. Is it about investment and cost? Then wow, that's a big investment and cost, seeing as we've already committed to electric in so many other ways. You could leapfrog that technology and have it cheaper, more accessible for agriculture. The other thing is it's all about like when even airports are going to have to decarbonise and change their transport. So they're starting with the buses and the smaller vehicles that move the luggage around and the people. So that is possible on a farm too. There are forklifts that could be electric today. There's plenty of, as we saw from that story, JCB style equipment can be, and Munro, where there's competitors to Munro coming forward that have got amazing off-road vehicles for mining, agriculture. And I think that's what we've got to look out for, is what's practical now and do research for the future. But I think we know the direction we're going in.
I'm just going to question that, just to touch, in that I posed a question to some people here yesterday, talking about have we lost momentum in the EV world, in that we're seeing stories of Fisker struggling, Neo, that Volvo pulled out of Polestar, that Arrival, Volta. You know, we can all quote the names of organisations that have come into this marketplace and have brilliant products, great ideas, great solutions. British Volt, struggling to make inroads. And then you see the sales figures and think, okay, it's a tough market out there. How do you combat the suggestion that we are self-interested and we are trying to push an agenda just as oil is, and we're no better? Sarah?
Yeah, if I may, I think it's just very quickly, it's a good sign in a way, because business ebbs and flows and grows and dies. That's what happens. And some, it's a race. Some will get there, some will not. That's true of all industry. That's true of petrol and diesel car as well, manufacturing as well. You have to remember, in technology, you will have forerunners and slow runners, and those will make it sustainably. But it doesn't put me off. And actually, I think it's a really good sign on the basis that there's lots of people giving it a good go. But I'm so glad I didn't put any bets on, because I was surprised at some more names that came up yesterday that I don't think are public, but aren't going to be around. But, you know, as I say, there'll be more in their place. There really will. And we're all learning from each other all of the time.
Absolutely. Paul?
Well, whilst yes, I think it is a good thing that lots of companies are giving it a go and all that sort of stuff. But there has to be a question as to why then none or very, very few are succeeding. I mean, you know, we know Tesla came from nothing, but a lot of them, you know, are really struggling to get moving. Why is that? And I you know, it's not because they're not good ideas. They are good ideas, and it is good technology, but they're not getting the support that they need to move. And I think the established manufacturers are, I don't know, are trying. The establishment feels like it's against this innovation, if I'm being really honest, because these manufacturers, the bigger ones, have the ability to go at an incredible higher pace to leave aside the need for the smaller companies to go for it and burn a lot of money. You know, Sam is a great sort of back the right horse, but it's very difficult to back the right horse if the horse won't run. But let's get the big horses running, and then we won't have to back the little horses to get going.
How do you pick a winner, Sam?
Pardon?
I'm not sure we've got
How do
Sam
you
with
pick a
us.
winner?
Lights are on, but nobody's home.
How do you pick a winner?
So
yeah, it's tough. It's tough. Oh, hello. Yeah, I mean, it's all said. You know, there's a lot of good ideas out there, but the good idea is a fraction of the whole piece, right? That's just that everyone can have a good idea. That's you know, almost ignore it. It's about the commercial viability, the longevity, the robustness, the investment demand, all of those other component parts that you need to have in order to create a good idea into a viable business proposition. And the benefit the small guys will always have is being nimble, being maneuverable, and that's the greatest advantage. And also not having legacy of doing things in an old-fashioned way. So you can have the sledgehammer effect of the original OEMs, or you can have the nimble maneuverability of the smaller ones. And Tesla has been a great proponent of both categories, but it's an incredibly difficult thing to do, especially in the automotive sector. So I think it will continue to be a challenge for any new entrants, because very, very difficult market for a small business to try and carve a niche in.
Yeah, we were talking about developments to the EV Cafe village, and Michael Barton has just chipped in with, are we getting an upgrade from a village to a town or even a city? I think, if I'm right in saying that we need a cathedral to be a city. Is that still the case? Used to be the case. Anybody know?
Well, Stuart Signs telling me they can make creative things out of cardboard now, so we should just ask for a big cathedral to be put in the middle of our city, regardless.
Yes.
But no, you're quite right. There are different geographical definitions that define a town, a city, a hamlet, whatever.
But no longer is it a cathedral, because Milton Keynes is officially a city.
No, it can, exactly.
And the Queen handed out 8 cities, I think, a couple of years ago before she passed away. And many of them don't have a cathedral.
And yeah, there's sometimes university defines it as well. It just depends. There's lots of different factors.
I'd like to explore I'd like to explore whether it's possible to elect a mayor, Fran, you see. And if there is, who would the mayor of the city be? There's a thought.
Edmund King, obviously.
For all
Edmund King. Sorry.
Oh, well, goes without saying, doesn't it? Anybody else? Paul, you got any suggestions for mayor?
Ooh, mayor of the EV Cafe. I'll have to ponder on that one. I would have probably gone Edmund would be in a good bet. I'm just trying to think who else kind of has
Producer
that statesman-like approach.
We need producer
Joe.
Yeah, we need him.
Oh, Sam's got one.
I go Nigel Farage.
Nigel Farage.
Well, that's one
Very
way to
good.
break down the
Very
church
good.
walls. That's a
mate.
good idea.
Calls for all public electric vehicle charging sites to have accessible charging mandated are growing louder, with Baroness Jenny Randerson backing the likes of ChargeSafe, Motability Foundation and Recharge UK in calling for government action. British specifications are voluntary unless referred to in legislation. So at present, charge point providers, landowners and land administrators are under no legal obligation to conform with PAS 1899. Now, PAS 1899 is the standard by which we set out precisely what charging space should look like. And Sarah, we've got a PAS compliant parking space on the EV Café Village. You saw it yesterday. What did you think?
Yeah, I almost wish that was front and centre. Not that I'm complaining, because we could bring people to look at it, but it is the thing about it being not legally binding. That's the thing. Sometimes people think it's all legal, but it isn't, sadly, and perhaps it should be. There was some terrible examples just yesterday on our long journey of sites that look shiny and new but actually aren't going to be used by everyone, and that just can't be allowed anymore. It's just too sad. There's no need.
Yeah,
Sam, PAS 1899 is something that you use, GridServe?
Yes, absolutely. We try our best to conform to the regulations, but as you say, it's not a legally binding thing at present. But there are too many hubs being built out there with bump stops and bollards that create an assault course for those with accessibility issues. I mean, I see on the daily almost, pictures of people celebrating new sites on LinkedIn and going, well, that looks awful. Like, that's terrible. The screen's in the wrong place. The cables are too heavy. The bump stops are going to trip people up. And with some degree of irony, where Paul is not currently where Paul is, but in that building where you guys are, there are charge point operators with raised plinths on their stands that people keep chipping over. So there's an accessibility issue everywhere you go, and so there's a lot of work to be done, I think, just to normalize and make people understand that even some of the fundamentals need to be universal, even if it's not all of it regulated just yet.
We'll go to Sarah, and then I'm going to ask Paul to show us what's behind him. Go, Sarah.
Yes, please. Just to add that it isn't just the physical infrastructure that's the problem, although what I'm about to describe is also physical infrastructure, but not being able to reach the payment terminal, not be able to see the screen at different angles because of the light coming in, having multiple different ways to access your payment for that charging session as well can be horribly confusing. Sometimes there's stuff all over the machine, you can't tell what's going on. So we can't just talk about physical disability here. Sometimes it's other disabilities that are being forgotten, particularly when it comes to the payments.
Absolutely. And Paul, we're exhibiting this week at Everything with Formula Space, a company on a mission to make PAS 1899 compliant accessible space. And it's good to see in the flesh, isn't it?
Yeah, it is. And this is one thing we tried to do. And albeit this charger is on a plinth, it's just you can't move it otherwise. That's the challenge we've got. So you can't exemplify it quite perfectly. But what you've got is a minimum optimized space. In an ideal world, you'd have a little bit at the front here as well in terms of that PAS 1899, but it's kind of having the chargers accessible at a level, and these guys at Formula Space are working really hard to help CPOs with those challenges, and ChargeSafe accredit Formula Space and actually Vital EV, who provided this charger here. But it's something that we hope to champion in further EV Cafe villages as we go along.
I muted myself like an idiot. The sound in here is absolutely horrendous. I hope nobody can hear that at home. Let's go to our final item, Turbocharge. Have announced the installation of 3 pavement electric vehicle charging channels in Scotland. The first of its kind to happen outside of the first trial in Hull. The trial's revolutionising how residents without a drive can charge their electric vehicles. The series of rollouts makes it easier for residents to switch to electric. Helps the UK achieve its net zero target. The Turbocharge trial is installing 3 pavement channels. So literally, they dig a channel in the pavement, then they sink the cable through a flap, essentially, which keeps the cable safe and enables people to then zip it up like a pair of trousers or a top, and it keeps the cable out of the way and removes that trip hazard. That sort of innovation is really key, isn't it, Sarah, to making this easier for people who don't have home charging?
Yes, it was anyone who got to watch it on Dragon's Den. John, it's so loud for you. We can't all hit. We all got what you were saying, though. Thank you for introducing Turbocharge's new technology. The line was bad, so I don't know if mine's any better. But essentially, it's a channel that goes across the pavement with a little flap, and then the cable goes in, and then everybody can walk over it, pushchairs, wheelchairs, whatever, no bother. What I wanted to say was, if you get a chance, watch it back on BBC iPlayer, because it was really interesting how the Dragons were sort of unenamoured at first and then realised how important this could be as a potential market. We all know that anybody who has to take a vehicle home that can't always park outside their house will struggle, and Turbocharge's argument on that was, if it was installed at every single property, then it might be possible to share a neighbour's charger like we've been doing for years with apps and so on and so forth. But it's yet another piece of the puzzle. It's yet another piece that is missing and has got interest from local authorities. Dundee is one of 5, I think, local authorities that are trialling this. And at time of recording, there was only a couple in Milton Keynes. So just in the sort of 6 months that it's been, they've quadrupled their interest in local authority before the show even came out. So yeah, Deborah Meaden right behind it. She opened the show. She opened Everything Electric Was Fully Charged last year. So she's one of those dragons that's pushing for clean tech. Good on her.
Now, unexpectedly, Sam pulled a face.
Well, yeah, quadrupling something very small is still something very small. But you know, I don't. It's a great innovation again. But as Sarah articulated, if you park one car down from where you would like to be, then the answer is, oh, we'll just borrow the neighbour's charger. It's just not going to happen. I'm sure there's going to be niches where this is going to be really useful, and actually even for people who have driveways that actually want to use it as a I'm sure there'll be lots and lots of applications. And as you say, it's a small piece of the puzzle. So good luck to them, but I don't think it's going to set the world alight, because I can't see the practicality when you can't park outside your own house.
No, quite. Paul, do you have a counter thought?
Well, yeah, I mean, innovation like this is good, I think. And the AA are already using a neighbour's charge point to charge one of their vehicles. So this is already happening. It's, you know, we've got to get back to community to really drive these things forward. I totally take Sam's point that you can't park in front of your house all of the time. But there are places where you can reasonably regularly park it. And remember, you don't have to park it there every night, because people typically only do 20 to 40 miles a day. And so they've got a few days where they can, you know, get it topped up on the day that they can park in front of their house. So there are ways, and we've talked about there is no silver bullet, and there isn't a silver bullet. This is not a silver bullet, but it's a part of the jigsaw puzzle to help solve the problem of charging.
Yeah, and John, just before you close off this story, I want to come back to this local authority piece and the importance that local authorities can play when you're planning housing developments. You can make it so that, yes, you don't provide a driveway, that's not a popular choice, but you do have an allocated bay, be that at certain times of day. So when the pavement and the housing was built, and those turbocharged type technologies, other insertable devices are available, then you can make sure that you do have an allocated space, even if it's not a driveway in its traditional sense. And that's what the whole Levi Fund is doing as well, or Levy, where you can have somewhere you know you can go, which gives confidence to fleet managers who are thinking about how on earth are all of their take-home fleets going to cope with this without turning up next day for non-profitability if you've got to chase around trying to find a charger all the time. So overnight charging is such a difficult nut to crack if you don't have a driveway, and this does help a little bit.
Yeah, I did challenge the Turbocharge CEO on this slightly on LinkedIn, and his lovely response was, well, if you can't charge because you can't get any income, then go to the grid surf charger and charge there instead. I thought, fair enough.
At least somebody has grace.
Right. Well, it remains for me just to thank all of the wonderful people that we've seen so far at Everything Electric, and the kind words from people touched by what we do and how we do it. So thank you all very, very much. Thanks for tuning in this morning. This has been an absolute horror story to try and broadcast through. And I'm not sure we'll be doing this again live from an event, but thank you anyway for sticking with us. Until next Friday, it's goodbye from me, and it's goodbye from them. This has been the EV Cafe production. Watching this in partnership with the Commercial Vehicle Show, where the fans of vans, trucks, and women's commercial hangout. See you in Birmingham, 23rd to the 25th of April, with the EV Cafe Village. Other sustainability news services are available, but this is just fun.
What?
The EV Cafe is truly blessed to be partnered with the AA, Webfleet, Europcar, Plug Me In, Paythrough, Iveco, Zaptec, Drax, Spiri, Hydro, Interval, and Diamond. We are the EV Cafe, supporting the transition to net zero transport. Enjoy Easter. Have a fabulous time. If you are coming to the EV Cafe, then come and give us a hug. And stay safe. Until next Friday, bye.
Bye.
Oh, you did such a good job, John. That was really hard. Well done.